Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video, and this is it. This is the update that we have all been waiting for when it comes to alt accessibility and PvP, as well as some cool time-walking events and AoE uncapping of more abilities. This is really the big one for me personally that I have been waiting for, but I am going to be quickly running down all of the changes that have been updated in this most recent version of 9.1.5's PTR, but there are changes to reputation grinds, changes to account-wide gear, there are changes to classes in PvP. This is really the big doozy one. So just starting off the changes here, we have more abilities obviously being uncapped on AoE. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in Mythic Plus as far as meta in terms of specializations, because I know for a while Fire Mage has been dominated because its AoE was relatively uncapped still. Now with other classes potentially getting under the table here, maybe we see Mythic Plus variation start to really rise to the occasion. We are seeing some buffs and changes to Death Knights, particularly their legendary involving the Necro Lords, to try and increase, again, I would imagine some diversity amongst the covenants for Death Knights. This seems more likely for PvE than PvP, as pretty much every Death Knight in PvP is already running this, but maybe you're going to have your eyes on this a little bit more, as now it's going to be 10% damage to everything in the AoE, rather than only the targets that are pulled. Again, it's bigger buff in PvE. Feral Druids are getting buffs to their Adaptive Swarm Necrolord ability. It will now gain a damage bonus from its initial duration when casting Tiger's Fury. So Feral Druid getting a bit stronger. This is going to be really notable in PvP. And apparently there's an issue that prevented certain ranks of the Carnivorous Instinct Conduit from improving auto attack and periodic damage while Tiger's Fury damage bonus is active. That seems really strange to me. They don't go into the specifics of what rank of the conduit was bugged, or maybe if there's any consistency amongst other conduits. You may want to be paying close attention to your conduits if this ends up being a case for other ones on other classes. But it seems like fixing their conduits, buffing some of their damage during Tiger's Fury means that they could be more threatening. And Feral is already good in a really good spot in PvP. This makes them even better. Necro Lord Hunter is getting a buff. It's now also going to increase all physical damage done by you and your pets to the target by 10% for 10 seconds. So just a flat 10% damage buff that may start to even out, bringing some hunters maybe. But the Venthyr one is still very potent. And along with having the kind of the tanky legendary, I'm not sure if that'll be the case, but some of those legendaries have been changed in PvP, and we'll be getting to that as soon as we move through this. Windwalkers are receiving a change to their Spinning Crane Kick, and the first time you read this, Spinning Crane Kick rank 2 now increases Spinning Crane Kick's damage by 18%, up from 15. Seems like 3% damage buff for each unique target struck with Blackout Kick, Tiger Palm, and Rising Sun Kick in the last 20 seconds, but now it only stacks up to 5 times instead of 6. In Mythic Plus, this is a bit of a nerf because you could actually stack it up that high. In PvP, and at least in small arena combat, this is actually a buff because you pretty much will almost never getting it that high to 6 in a lot of situations. So you're just going to get to the max stacks faster, and every stack is hitting harder. So Feral is actually getting tougher. Windwalker looks like it's getting a little bit tougher as well. And now we start to get into some of the account-wide changes that are going to be very nice. Now, on any character that joins the same covenant as your current character will have all of their soulbinds immediately unlocked, and you can already buy 40 renown for 500 gold, so you can catch that up and have all of your soulbinds unlocked now without having to do the covenant campaign, which is going to be really nice. And as well as the Anima Conductor. This is a minor one, but if you're interested in collecting items and transmogs from your covenant before the end of the expansion, this Anima Conductor is just going to make it a bit easier to get grateful offerings, which you need to get a lot of those unique transmogs, which actually might pique my own interest in it, because it seemed like it was really just come back every day and wait 30 days. Kind of just, I wasn't really willing to do it, but this might make it a bit easier. So if you're interested in any of those transmogs, those are going to be a bit easier to get. Time walking is coming back, and particularly the Mage Tower, and it seems like it's a big feature. They're bringing back that bear form, the Guardian Druid skin, with a sick fell version of it, and they're also having a mount if you can complete 7 of the challenges on different characters across your account. So you may want to start getting some characters up and running to try and go for the Soaring Spell Tomb, which seems like you're going to be flying on a book. I don't know how many book mounts there are in the game, so it'll be a very unique amount, limited time. And this Mage Tower was super fun. I had fun doing it, and I'm not even that much of an avid PvEer. I occasionally raid in a tier if the story is interesting to me, or I've got a group of friends that want to, but I really did have a phenomenal time with it. I completed the original Mage Tower for Guardian Druid and a bunch of other specializations. I would definitely recommend it. let you check it out. I'm hoping that they do it in a version that is basically scaled or like templated so everyone goes in at the same power, because otherwise if it comes down to like you need gear on it, it'll be really tough if you have other characters that aren't caught up to try and do it. I would much rather they take the challenge mode approach that they used to do in the past for events, where it's just you get this set character at a set item level, everyone gets it and everyone has a fair shot at going at it. I'd really rather prefer that, but I'm not sure if they're going to do that or not, or if your gear will be relevant. Now we're starting to get into more account-wide stuff, and this is something that kind of slipped past me the first time I read it, but now there's an Heirloom Vendor in Oribos. An heirloom means you can buy items to send to other characters on your account. So you can buy Anima and send them to your alts. Maybe not the biggest deal to you, I'm not sure, at least not for me. You can also send Mythic Plus gear, so Valorous equipment chest for Valor that contains one piece of item level 210 gear, which then can be upgraded by the character that you put it on. The chest can only be purchased by a character with 1500 or higher Mythic Plus rating, so you will need to get a high score, but you'll be able to buy this box and then mail it to your alt, and then they can have a kind of a jump start on their gearing process. As well as PvP, you'll be able to purchase an Unchained equipment chest for Conquest that contains one piece of item level 220 unranked PvP gear. The chest can only be purchased by a character with 1600 or higher rating in any PvP bracket, so incentivizing players to try and get up past the 1400 to the 1600 bracket. Once you're there, you can buy this account-wide gear and mail it to your alts. Kind of wish that it was mixed a bit with Conquest. We don't know the price of this gear either, this chest. Also, it seems like it's a random piece of gear, right? Because it's coming from a box. It contains one piece of gear. So I could see some frustrations here, much the same as with the Korthia vendor, and I'm hoping that they catch this ahead of time, which is I don't want to buy 3 chests, mail them to my alt, and I open 3 helmets. I'm going to get really mad if that happens, and I've used a lot of Conquest to do that, the same way that the Korthia vendor was frustrating because it was only random loot for a while, which then they've now alleviated in 9.1.5. I don't know if there's a way for them to go about doing that, but I will say being able to, once you've capped a main character for a while, like this season could be a while, right? You're going to have a lot of excess Conquest, so getting your alts up and running now with more accessibility to Renown and the Covenants, I think that this is a good idea. I like the idea. I just think maybe a little bit further thought into it, maybe the randomness of the chest might not be the best, so that you're not getting the same item 3 times in a row, because that will be really frustrating. Now more account-wide stuff coming in with the Archivist Codex reputation, and this is a reputation that you get your max level conduits from, and you can also get your sockets from. So basically, with this giant paragraph of stuff, they're going to make it easier to get the reputation, because they've agreed in the developers' notes that it takes too long to get a character all the way through, and once you get to tier 5 and tier 6, like where I'm at, it becomes really painfully slow. So they're going to be making it easier to get the reputation, to get up to the point where you can then start working to buy your conduits and start buying your sockets, which is really good. And they're also going to make it easier for your alts by creating bind on account items that you can send to your alts to try and catch them up if they want to get the conduits, which I'm really glad to see. This is basically everything that I wanted to see for a while. The only other thing that I would have liked to have seen for the reputation is at tier 4, being able to buy 239 conduit item level upgrades. And then that way you're working towards the 252s, rather than I think there might be a point where you're just sitting at 226 and you're stuck there until tier 6. But maybe it won't be that big of a deal if they've reduced it by enough that you can just get to tier 6. But this is really nice change for myself personally to see, which means you'll get access to conduits that are higher, because a lot of players are playing with 252 and you maybe got a 184 or 200 or something, and it's starting to become a really big deal. So this change was like one of the big bueno changes for me that I was very happy to see. We see changes to pet battles. I'm sorry, I'm not really interested in pet battles, but pet battles actually got a lot of updates, it seems like to me. And then finally we go down to the PvP changes, which are the changes I think that a lot of us have really been waiting for. And here's the one that's just straight off the top. The honor cost to upgrade unrated gear reduced by around 25%, and the conquest cost to upgrade rated gear has been adjusted to spread across the new ranks. This seems a little bit, I'm not too sure, but reducing the honor for unrated gear. My biggest problem right now is that on a new character, I feel like I'm wasting my honor into the unrated gear, because then once I've got it, I have to get conquest gear and then pump the honor back into that conquest gear and start upgrading it. So it almost feels like I would rather just cap conquest, save my honor, play with a bit of a disadvantage while I'm capping conquest, or pay some gold to have someone carry me to kind of skip past the brutal pain part of this. So hopefully 25% is enough to make it feel like you can get to that 229 PvP item level. I think it's actually getting higher in the next patch, and it'll make that gear more relevant next to the conquest gear, so you can have more of a competitive chance. I'm glad that they did at least look at reducing the costs. And the second part, I'm not 100% sure what they're trying to do with this. The conquest cost to upgrade rated gear has been adjusted to spread across the new ranks. So they just, is it, I don't think this word should be conquest, it should be honor, because you don't use conquest to upgrade a rated piece of gear. You use honor. So I'm just assuming this means, and the honor cost to upgrade rated gear has been adjusted to spread across the new ranks. So I would think this means that it's not going to cost you any difference. Even though they're adding more ranks, it's going to be the same amount of honor to upgrade a conquest piece, which is not really that great. But at least the unrated gear will give you a chance to kind of bump up and get closer to everybody else. And now we get to see some of the changes that are coming in here, specifically to Druid. We're seeing Adaptive Swarm, the Necro Lord abilities, bonus to periodic healing reduced to 20% in PvP combat, so 5% nerf basically to heal over time effects on Resto Druid. Resto Druid is very prevalent at the moment, so this is not surprising to see some nerfs targeted towards Restoration Druid. Not sure if the nerf should have been oriented more so towards Cenarian Ward, but this does also affect Cenarian Ward. Holy Priest is getting an insane amount of buffs. You're getting 15% more healing on your heal in PvP. You're getting 15% more healing on your flash heal in PvP. And you're getting 15% more healing on your renew. So just 15% more healing on your spells that are casted and purgeable. So not targeting Prayer of Mending. But a buff to Holy Priest, I'm sure that you're not going to really walk that off. Holy Priest at the moment is probably one of the weaker healers. Of course, you can play Rogue Mage, you can play Jungle, and those compositions will bump it up a lot. But outside of that, as a standalone, you're not the best. So nice to see some buffs coming through for that. And then here for Warriors, they're nerfing specifically the Kyrian Legendary. This one is now only going to provide you 15% increased critical strike damage. Rather than 25%, so 10% crit damage nerf. So maybe you're not going to see these peak executes that are chopping you off, but you can still run Necro Lord. So I'm not sure if that's going to change too many things all at once. But now that we've seen that they are willing to make some changes to the gear, they've made some big changes that I was starting to think maybe it's not going to happen, right? Like maybe these updates is really great for PvEers for a while, and I was getting a bit worried because I was thinking these aren't PvP specific changes. Sure, it's a little bit of a account-wide assistance, but not really a lot. This update with the ability to send some boxes to your alt, I would have maybe liked to see an honor vendor box too, you know, like buy an unrated Unchained equipment chest with honor on your main and then send that bad boy over to your alt too, just to spend the honor on something on your main character to help your alt. That would have been nice, and I'm a bit worried about the randomness of this box. But either way, it's getting a lot more account wide, which is great to see. We're seeing more specific PvP changes. I think that we'll see more. I thought there was more on this because I was reading some interactions that seemed like they had looked at Triune Ward as well as the Hunter one. So I'm not a bit uncertain why they're not on this update specifically, but I thought I remembered seeing something about those two, and those are two really big standout ones in PvP. But either way, if you want to stay up to date in the know, in the now, as far as these updates, what's happening in 9.1.5, what's it like to come back into the game, then you're going to want to stay subscribed to the channel, or subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I do greatly appreciate it. I try and pump up these updates and guides out as much as I can. So if you're interested in staying up to date with the game and what I'm doing or how to play the game, this is going to be a really good resource for you. And other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Comment down below with your thoughts. Is 9.1 starting to grab you back at all? And other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I will see you in the next one.